This is the review of KSC M9 System 7 series. We got the M9 and the M9A1, and on the KWA counterpart, which is the producer of KSC, is KWA M9 PTP, KWA M9 PTP Tactical with the rail. Alright, let's go really quick through the facts. The gun loaded weight with magazines inserted weighs approximately 1.06 kilogram. On the A1, thanks to the rails, it's about 20 grams heavier. As for FPS sakes, it's about 330 to 360 on propane green gas, top gas, and 240 to 260 on HFC 134A, or also known as Japan gas. Biggest thing I want to talk about is durability. Durability overall, it's mixed. Let me explain it. The slide is rather light, so there's less parts breakage. I would not expect the slide to break. It's a really light one, so it barely has any recoil compared to the KWA M9. However, the trigger mechanism and the safety magazines are the other issues. Let's talk about the safety. The safety acts like a decocker, similar to a rear stock. If you cock it, put on safe, it decocks the hammer, and it disengages the trigger. On the KWA M9 series, it does not decock, rather the hammer stays back like so, and the trigger is completely disengaged. That's not the real deal on a KWA M9, but I guess it's what makes it a lot more reliable. What happens is that the safety tends to, as time goes, becomes harder to engage, such as the M9A1, which I purchased as a fixer. Is if you release it and you're trying to decock it, you could end up like so. What happens is the slide moves back when you decock it. When you move back, and it doesn't work. If you push it forward, a tap, it will release it. Alternatively, if you hold it, it will also work. This one is now fixed, so it doesn't really do that, but I'm just saying it does happen. Durability, the third issue I have is the trigger mechanism. The trigger mechanism has known to cause single action only, meaning if you pull like so, it wouldn't fire, but if you pull it down, it will work. Let me just show you really quick. See, just unload the magazine. Chamber is clear. Decock it. If you slowly pull the trigger, to show you work, it does work, okay? But if you pull it down, it doesn't really work. This is only found in this one. The other gun, the non-broken one. Alright, once again, clear, same magazine. If you pull it slowly, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I guess it works now, but it's sometimes the issue, and that's the big part I don't like it. The last one I don't like is the magazine floor plate on the version 1. The magazine floor plate is held by two lips. They're really thin, approximately 1 millimeter in thickness, and they do break easily when you drop to the ground, or if you try to slam it in as you insert the magazine. It's subsequently fixed now with 2 screws, so even if it does break, it's not as big of an issue. But just something to keep in mind. A lot of Hong Kong sellers still use the old one, so I would avoid it. The KWAUSA Proshop sells the newer one, so if you want to be sure, purchase from them. Aside from that, I would say overall the KWA or KSC M9 System 7 series are rather pretty good. They're comparable to the KWA M9. Not sure which one's better. It's kind of like a personal opinion. It's a lot better than stock foreign Western Arms M9, which is totally plastic, and the WE one, which simply always has problems somewhere. Either trigger mechanism or the magazines has issues. Onto the accuracy. The accuracy is limited by the KSC hopup system. KSC hopup systems is pretty good, but it's not as good as, say, the Marui one. KSC system involves using a wheel, you can show it here, and you use a tool to adjust it. The ball which they use acts on the rubber. It's a rounder one. Most of the better hop-up system nowadays use an H shape, so it has more contact to it rather than two balls hitting each other, and that is why the range is a lot more limited. KSC guns are pretty much say that if you have 100 feet target within 100 feet, it's gonna hit pretty straight like a laser. After like 125 feet, it starts to go everywhere. This is no different. The Glock, USP, SP2022 all had a similar kind of result. So accuracy is not as good as probably the KWA M9, but overall I say it's not as bad as either. The Western Arms is definitely not as good. Ergonomics. Ergonomics of this gun, these guns are pretty much limited by whether you like the M9 system itself. The M9 has a really thick grip. If you don't have a large hand size, what happens is that when you pull the triggers, you may have some trigger finger issues, in that when you shoot, if I pull it barely, such as under small size hands, I may jerk the trigger. If you notice that, your hands will turn, and that is a downside. You can't really fix with that. Gloves doesn't help at all. I have a large size hands, I can do it fine on bare hands, but when I put the gloves on, I really need to make sure I got a good grip. Otherwise, I will jerk the trigger. You will notice at longer range, if you do a shot group, you will notice your groups will go to the right side. Or the left side, depends how the trigger finger issue is. Ergonomics besides that, the safety is a slide mounted one. It's a love or hate relationship. Large size hands, you can get used to it. I like the KSC, the SIG and Colt USB system where they have hammer or decocker, like here, or hammer. You can get used to it. I pretty much do. When I put my gun into holster from full decock, just decock it, release it, so you're on double actions. Just in case if you do pull up, you won't have this kind of issue trying to pull a gun on someone like so. So overall, ergonomics, you love it or you hate it. The difference between the M9 and the M9A1 in ergonomics is that the A1 has more aggressive stippling on the back and the front side, whereas the M9 is just single lines. On the gloves, it's no difference. Bare hands, you will notice there is quite a difference, especially when your hands get really sweaty. Simplicity of this gun, I would say KSC tried their best to replicate as so simplicity from the airsoft perspective is great. Simplicity from the firearm design perspective is not so good. Hammer, easy. Magazine, easy. Slide release, easy. Safety, easy. Whoa, it decocks. Okay, there's a little bit more complex there. Alright, when you have a decocker, it's just something you get used to. And the fact that when safety's on, it's not a stop here, it's a full stroke. So it's an issue. You will notice it have a really soft trigger. Alright, kind of like when you have a double feed on a real steel. But it's just not as great as the simple as Glocks or USB system, I guess. The internals, this assembly is a pain actually. You pull it back, decocker, make sure hold the spring, the recoil spring, because the recoil spring is not retained and it does pop up. When it does pop up, it's a pain to put it back. The slide system, it's a sliding, moving in hop-up system, so that when you pull the hammer back, it will move a bit. So as such, the recoil spring is basically contact by 2mm. The other issue is just putting it back on, because a lot of people don't hold the recoil spring. So when you put it back on, it gets stuck and they get frustrated, and so that put it down. Oops, I got caught my gloves. And that's so. Alright, let's go on to the next one, accessories. Accessory overall, compared to the KWA M9, is extremely limited. Let's just see how many stuff you need to upgrade. If you want to upgrade for more power, there is the Firefly, the upgrade high flow release valve. You can replace with that. Don't think it's worth it, considering you're gonna be at 360 FPS tops on a hot day. It's not a good one for a pistol. Usually you want to prefer to go below 350, so I would upgrade that. The inner barrel you can with upgrade to 6.03 EDGI one, which can be good or bad, your decision. I will say that there is no threading barrel available. These are all plastic, and they are not compatible with threading barrels from like KWA System. You just have to suck it up, and that's it is. That's to say, there's no silencers. Other parts upgrades, I'm not so sure, but I don't think there's much to upgrade in the first place. It's already a metal system, metal frame, and metal slide. It's aluminum slide with probably zinc alloyed one in the frame. It's a lot less than KJ in terms of like upgradability in the airsoft world. Western Arms WE also has less, similar to KSC KWA system, so I guess that's the issue. If parts break, there is KWAUSA to save you, the North Americans, so that's a bonus. As for real steel, there's a Picatinny rail you can attach on the A1, so I guess that gives it a little bit more accessories. As for holsters, these ones are 1-to-1 dimension for the Beretta 92-96, Beretta M9A1. Let me just say this because the holster, such as the Serpa or Safari lens, where they have specific model ones, will demand that it has to be thermal. This is the 92-96 ones. The A1 is a 92-96 size, so if you put it in, it does work. Alright, you don't need much effort, and it will lock. The the A1, since it has the Picatinny rail, it will interfere, and as such, it won't fit. It just won't fit. That's because there is no space for it. Alright, even if you cut it, which you're probably going to split the holster in half, it still won't fit. So I guess that is the problem with the A1 if you want to consider it. The M9, most of the holster will work is in Blackhawks, which is the Serpa maker. That is usually the case, and the China copy Serpa is this one. Let's talk about price. I'm not so sure about outside the country. Being in Canada, prices definitely inflated quite a bit, from 50 to 200% inflations. I would say that in Canada, for a KSC version, you're looking at 330 to 350 Canadian dollars. KWA M9 PTPs are seen from 250 and up. Sometimes 300 if the seller is a little bit more picky and greedy. Overseas, I'm thinking these were probably around $200. Magazines are from $38 to $40 $28 to $40 depends on where you buy it from. 28 being more like Hong Kong, 40 being more like North America. Shipping does makes a difference. Price, I would say, is definitely more expensive than KWA M9. So if you have more money, go with this. If you want to save money and has a reliable one, go with the KWA M9. Avoid Western Arms or WE at all costs, because they're just hectic to work on. They're good for a display if the painting is good. Alright, just last but not least, track record. We know that it's been out for a while and it's shooting for a while. There is issues with that. You can solve it with replacing parts, but some of those is just hectic as it is, and you can't really help with that. So I hope this is informative reviews of what it is. I'm sorry that it's close to 15 minutes, but I try my best. Just going to show you some shooting to show you how the difference. Empty magazines, empty chamber. You got single action. Sorry, that's double action. There you go. Alright, enjoy.